In Part 1, we showed you what institutions are accumulating. In Part 2, we explained how the system works. Now, we reveal the property that keeps central bankers awake at night. A number, simple, absolute, unchangeable, 21 million. Not a policy, not a promise, a mathematical certainty. And it breaks everything they've built. Every form of money in human history has shared one fatal flaw. Someone controlled the supply, and eventually they abused it. The Roman denarius was once pure silver. Emperors needed to fund wars, pay armies, build monuments. So they diluted the coins, mixed in cheaper metals. The denarius that was once 90% silver became less than 5%. Prices rose. The economy collapsed. The empire fell. The German papier mark. After World War I, the government printed money to pay debts. In 1918, a loaf of bread cost half a mark. By November 1923, it cost 200 billion marks. Life savings became worthless in months. A generation was wiped out. Zimbabwe's dollar. At its peak, inflation reached 79 billion% per month. They printed a $100 trillion note. It couldn't buy a bus ticket. The Venezuelan bolivar. 1 million% inflation. People weighed cash instead of counting it. This is not ancient history. This happened 6 years ago. The pattern is always the same. Governments promise restraint. Then circumstances change. Emergencies arise. Wars begin. Crises emerge. And the printing never stops. This is not opinion. This is historical fact. Every fiat currency eventually trends towards zero. Bitcoin was designed to make this pattern impossible. The 21 million limit is not a setting that can be adjusted, not a parameter that can be voted on. It is written into the fundamental code that defines what Bitcoin is. Every 10 minutes, new Bitcoin is created as a reward for computers that validate transactions. This reward started at 50 Bitcoin per block. Every 210,000 blocks, roughly 4 years, the reward is cut in half. This halving continues until the reward becomes so small it rounds to zero. Mathematically, this occurs around the year 2140. After that, no new Bitcoin enters circulation, ever. You don't have to trust anyone telling you this. You can verify it yourself. The code is open source, published, readable by anyone with an internet connection. 50,000 computers run this code. They all enforce the same rules. If any single computer tried to change the rules to create more Bitcoin, to alter the halving schedule, every other computer would reject it. The rogue computer wouldn't corrupt the network. It would simply be ignored. To change the 21 million limit, you would need to convince the majority of nodes worldwide to adopt new software that devalues their own holdings. Think about that. You would need thousands of independent operators across dozens of countries to voluntarily make their Bitcoin worth less. It will never happen. The incentives make it impossible. A question people ask, if no new Bitcoin is created after 2140, why would anyone validate transactions? Today, miners earn money two ways: new Bitcoin from the block reward, and transaction fees paid by users. Currently, the block reward dominates. Transaction fees are a small percentage. But as the reward decreases with each halving, transaction fees become proportionally larger. By the time the last Bitcoin is mined, the network will have operated for over 130 years. Transaction fees will have gradually replaced the block reward entirely. This is not a crisis. It is a design transition, planned from the first line of code. But here's what matters for you today. As of this recording, over 19 million Bitcoin have already been mined. Less than 1.5 million Bitcoin will ever be created from this point forward. And that creation will slow with each halving. The next 4 years will produce fewer Bitcoin than the last 4. And so on. There are 8 billion people on Earth, approximately 60 million millionaires. Over 2,000 billionaires. There will only ever be 21 million Bitcoin. If every millionaire wanted just 1/3 of a Bitcoin, there wouldn't be enough. Do the math. Central banks exist for one primary function, controlling the money supply. They expand it during crises, contract it during inflation, manipulate it to influence elections, fund wars, bail out allies. This power is not incidental to their existence. It is their entire purpose. Control the money, control the nation. Bitcoin removes this power completely, permanently. No emergency decree can create more Bitcoin. No executive order. No act of Congress. No international treaty. The rules were set in 2009. They will remain unchanged in 2109. In 2008, governments printed trillions to bail out banks. Your savings paid for their mistakes through inflation. In 2020, governments printed trillions more. The money supply expanded 40% in 2 years. Each time, the people holding cash became poorer. The people holding assets became richer. This is not conspiracy. This is documented monetary policy, published by the Federal Reserve itself. Bitcoin offers an alternative, an asset that cannot be diluted, cannot be expanded, cannot be weaponized against its holders, money that protects you from the money printer. Now you understand why they spent a decade calling it worthless, and why they're quietly accumulating it now. Let us be clear about what you now understand. 1. Every fiat currency in history has been devalued. The dollar has lost over 96% of its purchasing power since 1913. 2. Bitcoin supply is fixed at 21 million. This is enforced by code, verified by thousands of independent computers, unchangeable by any authority. 3. Less than 1.5 million Bitcoin remain to be created over the next 116 years. 4. The institutions that control monetary policy are accumulating an asset that makes their primary tool obsolete. This information was not hidden, but it was not explained. Complexity was used as a barrier, jargon as a wall, dismissal as a strategy. You now stand on the other side of that wall. Scarcity cannot be created, only recognized. You've now completed 3 parts of this series. You understand why Bitcoin exists, how it works, and why its fixed supply changes everything. One question remains: how do you actually acquire it safely? Part 4 will show you exactly how to buy Bitcoin without falling victim to the scams, fees, and mistakes that cost newcomers thousands, what to use, what to avoid, and the single most important rule that protects your investment. Subscribe.